O Buen Camino, their pilgrims. I'm Jeremiah Gibbs and I am your Camino guide. And today I'm going to be talking about the 3 hikes that you can do right now in preparation for your Camino pilgrimage. You'll notice as you look around here, I'm out here walking in the middle of fall, late fall actually, and it's starting to get a little chilly, and it's going to be a minute before I'm back on Camino. I don't know about you, but I'm hoping for pilgrimage in May of this year. Planning now to be able to take a group of my university students in May. But what can you be doing right now if you have a Camino plan, you're excited about making the pilgrimage, you want to begin preparing for it, but you are in the middle of a time when pilgrimage isn't possible right now. So what can you be doing right now to get ready for your Camino de Santiago? We're going to talk about that, so stay tuned. So I want to talk about the 3 hikes that you can do right now to prepare for Camino de Santiago. And the first hike that you should be thinking about is an equipment check. Now you'll notice that right now I'm really out mostly just getting exercise. I don't have a pack on. If you are preparing for Camino, you're going to need to train with the equipment that you want to be able to take on the Camino pilgrimage. And specifically, 2 to 3 pieces of your equipment are going to be really critical to be able to test on a real hike. And this can be a hike of 5 or 6 miles, or it could be one of a little bit longer distance, maybe 10 miles. It doesn't have to be sort of full day Camino for your equipment test. It certainly helps if you can go longer distances. But the biggest thing with your equipment day, your equipment hike, is you want to have the actual shoes that you're going to wear. You want to have the actual socks that you're going to wear, and the actual backpack that you're going to wear. The rest of your equipment is probably okay for that to be just stuff that you might have already. But those 3 pieces are really essential, that you're taking the piece that you plan to take with you on Camino. And otherwise, I would go ahead and just pack up the backpack to a weight that's appropriate for your particular pilgrimage expectations. So maybe that's in the neighborhood of 15 pounds or so. I would probably even pack it a little heavier than you plan to, because in my experience, most pilgrims end up packing a little more than what they actually expected. So pack up the gear that you plan to carry and go out there and see how your fit is. You all know that I often recommend REI and similar brands that will not only fit you for your gear, but are also going to give you an opportunity to return it after trying it. REI's return policy is phenomenal, particularly for those pieces of gear that very well could need to be returned, such as your pack and your shoes. Then I would highly recommend buying those from a place where you can return. Go out, put some miles on the gear, and do an equipment hike of at least 6 miles or so, and preferably longer, so that you can know if you have the right equipment. The second hike you need to do to prepare for Camino is going to be a weather hike. Now, it's about 45 degrees out here, and without even thinking about it, I knew exactly how I should be dressed, because I've walked in 45-degree weather quite a lot, and I know how much warmth I'm going to need, how cold I'm going to be once I get moving, because I've spent a lot of time walking in kind of chilly weather like this. But you're going to need to think about what are the 1 or 2 most serious weather conditions that you're expecting on Camino, and you need to do a test hike that will test those 2 weather conditions. So the 2 that I would recommend, depending on what season you're going on, certainly if you're in the spring or fall, you're probably going to experience quite a lot of rain, especially in Galicia. So having a hike where you get out with your wet weather gear and feel what it's like to hike in really rainy conditions. And I would walk a long distance in your rain gear, because rain gear really begins to get compromised the further that you go. So if you are expecting that maybe you'll have some cold weather, then you're going to want to have a hike that is going to give you a chance to experience what it's like to walk in that cold weather. I usually walk my pilgrimages in May. I've walked now 7 times on Camino, and in my 7 times I've had 4 occasions where it got very cold. On those 4 occasions, we had weather that was in the 30s Fahrenheit and had some mixture of rain, sleet, snow, hail, and snow. So expect that you're gonna have a few days, especially the days that you climb mountains, are gonna possibly be wet, snowy, maybe even hail, and it could get down in those 30-degree temperatures. You might want to prepare for something that's even colder than that, but in my experience, the 30s Fahrenheit, so around 0 degrees Celsius, is a pretty normal cold weather day that you should be prepared for. So sometime this fall or spring, or even in the winter, depending on where you are, go out and do a hike on a day that's around freezing temperatures. If it's rainy or snowy, that's even better. Be able to test your wet weather gear, your cold weather gear, and that's the second hike that you should do in preparation for Camino. Before I describe that third hike that you should do in preparation for Camino now, let me just ask you to click the like button on this video. That will tell YouTube to send it out to other people who like to learn about Camino de Santiago. But also, if you are planning a Camino pilgrimage, then I hope that you'll subscribe to the channel. Come back often. I do videos that are sort of logistics and planning videos like this one. I talk about the theology and spirituality of Camino, and I also give some gear reviews and talk about equipment that you may want for the pilgrimage as well. So come back often. Now, the third hike that I think you should do in preparation for your Camino is what I call a reality check hike. And here, I'm actually gonna suggest that you're gonna hike twice. So maybe I kind of snuck one in on you there. I said 3 hikes, but really that third hike, that endurance hike, the reality check hike, really should be 2 hikes back to back, 2 days in a row. So depending on what your life looks like, that may be walking on a Friday, on a Saturday, or Saturday and a Sunday, something like that, so that you go out and get at least 12 to 14 miles. That is in that neighborhood of 25 kilometers or so, 2 days in a row. And the reason that that's so important is, first of all, you need to get a feel for what it's like to walk in that 25-kilometer range. If that's not something that you're accustomed to, you need to know what it's like to walk 25 kilometers. But you also need to know what it's like to be able to walk 2 long days in a row. Because one of the things that I found is that for those of us that don't do it every day, getting up on that second day and really putting in a lot of kilometers, a lot of miles on a body that's already sore is pretty shocking to the system. And so I want you to go out and get 2 days in a row that are gonna really stretch you and kind of put you to the test, so that you have a reality check of what that's gonna be like. If you have anxieties or fears about making your Camino de Santiago, why don't you put those in the comments? It's a great place for folks to be able to interact with one another and hear what the experienced pilgrims have done, as well as how these new and planning pilgrims are preparing for their journey as well. So put your sort of anxieties and fears in the comments. What are you doing about them? And let's help other pilgrims make the way as well. So those are the 3 hikes that I recommend that you do in preparation for Camino. You're gonna do a gear check hike. You're gonna do a cold weather check, or a rainy weather check, a bad weather check. And then you're gonna do a 2-day long distance endurance hike, really what I call the reality check hike, where you can get a feel for what it's like to get up and walk a long day after a long day. So as you're preparing for Camino, get out and get those 3 essential pieces of gear, your socks, your shoes, and your backpack, and begin planning for those 3 training hikes so you'll be ready when it's your time to make your way to Santiago. I hope that you found that helpful. If you did, there's another video that I'm gonna put right here on the end screen that will describe how you should train for Camino de Santiago. It's one of my most popular videos. I hope you'll check that out for some more training tips on getting ready for Camino, and I hope that I get to help you make the way as well. Buen Camino, pilgrims.